We hear from Apollo Hospital just released a fantastic LLM approach to for diagnosis and disease progression for cardiovascular conditions. So they got selected by American Health AHA, American Health Organization, I think. I'm sorry, American Heart Association. Yeah. So I think the innovation is not just going to come from Silicon Valley, it's going to come from anywhere else. And Apollo Hospitals is proving that now. And I have been personally involved, in fact, working with AI ML product managers at Google Cloud for the past 7 years. I've seen it in my eyes and ears talking to so many product managers. Early days, right? It was called just AI ML, then all the products were called Auto ML. Auto ML became, I was just at Google Next recently. Every AI product, they had a prefix Gen AI. The same Doc AI became Gen AI, Doc AI, right? So this is where the world is going. I mean, right from, while we are all, thrilled and excited about this space, there's a huge challenges, right? It comes with it. People are happy to do the POCs and pilots, but when they go into deployment, they're worried about hallucinations. They're worried about, bad accuracies. They're worried about data. So we have a fantastic panel here. I think I'll kick it off with maybe with Deepa, because she was one of the very early folks at Google who worked on natural language understanding. And, when the NLP products were issued. Google Cloud, when it launched, I think Google was already doing a lot of AI stuff. So I want her to give her perspective about what she learned from Google. Now she's running a startup. Will be great, and how AI is going to be applicable to many applications. Yeah.
Thank you. Very honored to be part of this panel, and thank you for picking me. Yes, so little introduction. So I was formerly, as Lena mentioned, a product manager at Google, and I focused, and one of the reasons I joined Google was because I was very curious about AI and machine learning back in, I think, 2010. That's one of the reasons I wanted to join that company, is to learn how to scale. And I joined the spam and abuse fighting team, and even back in the day, this was 2016, one of the, I think, largest applications of language models, back then it was LSTMs, was detecting hate speech at scale across Google products. And I remember that aha moment where we went from, okay, this is performing better than all these thousands of humans put together, and it was definitely a moment within Google too that we celebrated, and I remember that transition, and then so many more applications of it, keeping kids safe online, a lot of content classification, content understanding applications that I've worked with. And I think, and one thing I remember, I started this startup 2.5 years ago, and I remember when I stepped out of Google, one thing I wished was, I wish I had access to these models and this infrastructure, and I could do something with my AI expertise outside, but I knew it was so limited back then. And all that changed so rapidly, I'd say, in the last year, and every week things are advancing, so it's a very exciting time to be a founder. And particularly because I picked behavioral health, I see a lot of overlap between natural language processing and psychology, because to a large extent it is a play of words and how you speak to yourself and how you speak to others. So there's a huge overlap and I think opportunity. I'll stop here, but I'll share more.
Thanks, Deepa. I think how many of you know where LLM fits in, right? One of my friends was texting me, what is LLM?
So folks in the back, it's hard for us in the front to even listen, so please keep your noise down. And there's a very interesting panel going on, so I think it's worthwhile listening to them. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, many people think AI is LLM and LLM is AI. actually it's artificial intelligence, where machine learning is part of artificial intelligence, then deep learning, which is part of machine learning, then you have large language models, which came through this introduction of transformers, which is part of deep learning. The reason I'm saying this is a hierarchical way so that you all understand where LLM really fits in and why is really a crazy technology disruption. So now I'm going to ask Malay, who has been designing algorithms and for life sciences industry from deep learning days. I think he has written a paper which became part of their product. And by the way, his company is recently sold to Carlyle Group for 400 million plus. So I'd like to have Malay to come in and talk about deep learning and the progression into LLMs.
Thanks, Leela. Happy to be here. I think I'm between the food for thought and food for stomach. Right? So, I think Leela touched upon it very well, right? He gave the hierarchy and other things. The generative AI is not something new. It just works very well right now. Let me put it that way. It sounds like a cliche when I say I've been working on it for some time, and also feels very old when I say that, right? But I got into this field somewhere in 2011 time frame. And one of those reasons why I got into this field is also to work on healthcare related stuff. I used to work for Optum. That's where I started on this journey. But I was always interested in not only on natural language understanding for English, I also like Tamil. If you call it like Tamil, Periyar and Verian, I fall in the latter category, right? So 2015, there was this, I don't know how many people know about Andre Karpathy, one of the most influential teachers, I put him that way. And he wrote this extremely good blog called Unusual Effectiveness of RNN, Character RNN. That was the blog, right? It's still there. If you guys want to go take a look at it, he explains things in such a way that it's very easy for people to understand. So what I did is he did something with that for English, and I wanted to see whether I could do that for Tamil. So 10 lines of code, it was not that much. What I did is there are a lot of open source data sets in Tamil. I took all that, including Ponniyin Selvan, and I made it to write. I trained it for a couple of months. It was on my own GPUs, couple of GPUs, and made it to write the next chapter of Ponniyin Selvan. This was 2015, right? Understanding the intricacies of Tamil, on a character level, it did fairly well. I wrote a blog post on LinkedIn, it did extremely well. Take a look at it, if you can Google my name, it should be right there. So it just starts working really well right now. This aha moment for me, right? I've seen this journey, I had my own startup also in this area, natural language understanding, in 2015 to 2017 time frame. So for me, I've gone through this and I've gone through this hype and I've seen where it has hit a limit. And then this 2019 paper on transformers, that just blew my mind, right? The way, a simple thing, right? I think Deepa mentioned it very well. I think the LSTMs worked fairly well, right? And replaced a lot of humans. It could, but the issue with LSTMs was you can train it. It was not that effective to be trained on GPUs. That was the big issue. So you can only train, it was as good as training it on CPU. It's like something which runs on loops. Neural network, feed forward, running on loops. Think of it that way. So training it on GPUs, that was enabled through transformers. And we figured that we don't need to loop through things for us to actually train. You could give the entire text as something to train. And that was an aha moment. And for us, what we did is we published quite a bit, part of some of our technologies, I lead the AI research group, so we publish quite a bit in peer-reviewed journals and things. We are known in the healthcare pharma space for our publications too. So what we did is some of those publications started becoming a product for us. So one such product actually had a major impact during the COVID trial. Pfizer's COVID vaccine, we played a major part. Pfizer publicly went and said that we were the difference between Moderna and them. They started the trial late, but the vaccine got to market early, right? It was humongous effort. The way that humanity ran towards that particular thing, a big company like that running like a startup, I've never seen that. It happened. But I'm happy that we also played a big role in that particular part, right? There's a lot of applications for healthcare. In fact, FDA is very open for some of these things nowadays. I'm working with the FDA right now for they're putting some regulations around how these models to be done. and how it can learn on the fly, or how do you control that learning on the fly, so that you know what to expect from a outcome, clinical trial outcome and stuff like that. So it's a very interesting space. It is evolving very rapidly. For a protected and regulated industry like healthcare and pharma, we see a lot of applications coming up. Behavioral health is an amazing application. I was amazed by the presentation what Deepa did. There are so many areas where I'm seeing this impact. For me, particularly in clinical trial space, we're seeing a major disruption happening with this technology.
Yeah, thanks, Mala. I think that was a great insight. I think for especially not just regulated industries, right? And we talked about data privacy earlier, multiple folks had these questions. So, Amar, what's your view? I know you went from, you came, I think you were at Microsoft and came out to do a startup. You started I remember as a data security company, and quickly you pivoted to just focus on LLMs. And you went from few 100,000 seed investment to 5 million now. We're really happy. You're part of the ATEA cohort. So what's your perspective on LLMs and security?
Thank you, Elena. Thank you, ATEA. So what we observe in the market is your traditional AI, though the technology is progressing like this, the application is completely different. The reason is, in the past, I should know AI. I need a data scientist. I needed to understand what's happening behind it. Now it's a black box. So this has completely transformed. So what is happening now is there are so many small startups innovating, right? So it has disrupted across the board. This impact you will see in maybe a year or two. The vantage point where we are sitting, what we observe is that I can be a 2-member team. I need not know anything about AI. I'll use it as a black box. I can solve an elegant problem in AI, using an AI. So what it is shaping is, inside organizations, many POCs are kicked up, right? It can be anywhere from reviewing your contracts, or reviewing your support tickets, or reviewing your code. A lot of innovative things are happening, right? So for us, where we fit in is, when you are doing a POC, it's easy to prove the value of a product. Like, hey, I can take the data, I can do this, I can show the value to my boss or to my client and get the approval. But when you go to production, that's when privacy, data protection, safety all comes in. That's where Protector comes in. So that's where we started engaging and helping companies to go from POC to production, right? So what we see in the market, right, from a startup vantage point is, from both on the consumer side, on the enterprise side also, you will see a lot more 1 or 2% startups evolving very quickly, taking LLM and processing it. And the way the people get funded, there are a set of things people do on the fundamental LLM space, who are building models, who are building custom models. There are a separate class of products. But there are a separate class of products who are quickly taking it and innovating it, right? So they may not need huge funding. They might be completely bootstrapped. They can take a small funding and expand. So that way, both from a funding, from an entrepreneurship point of view, it's transforming. And within the organization also, it's transforming. So that's my take. So though the technology is it goes linear like this, from an impact point of view, we are living in a different world, right? The applications, how the entrepreneurship is going to change, how enterprise applications are going to be built, how it will be deployed, everything is changing.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm part of a 100+ cyber founders group, and where people have already, founded, sold, cyber companies. I see Amar's companies really ahead of the curve now. We'll see. Good luck with that. So now it's time to ask a quick comment question. Kumar, I have a huge respect for Kumar as an entrepreneur. So what's your perspective? I know that you're not a deep LLM expert, but it's good enough from an investor perspective. What's your view?
Thank you, Lena. Good evening. I've been through 3 phases of AI. I mean, I graduated a long time ago. At that point, AI was backpropagation and basic search, okay? I couldn't find a job at that time, in the early 90s. Then came expert systems, machine learning started coming in. Now this whole magic around, Jeff Hinton and his students, what they've done with supervised learning, now going into LLM. So I am not an active AI investor, but I have always opinions on everything in life. So I'm involved with, I'll give you 3 examples. I'm involved with 3 companies, early investor, startup co-founder in some cases. In AI, these days, you have to call it Gen AI, otherwise it's not cool enough. So, so first company is called ATEA. It's solving a problem beyond the basic LLM. So if you look in the world today, LLM's text-based data, the volume is big, but it's limited from a machine standpoint. A machine can read the entire volume of text, build a trillion parameter models and digest them, train them with reinforcement and get to good outcomes now. Okay? If you now take the next step, the video, images, multimode data, now the explosion of data is going to be 1,000x, 10,000x. It's very big. So it's hard to see models unless you go domain specific. So these are called large LVMs, large video models now. They are based off LLM, but they are using newer techniques and more brute power GPUs. So this company I'm working with is working on visual AI platforms for developers to build next generation domain specific models. So it's still early, but we think that's the next big infrastructure piece that will come in. You're going to see adoption across various industries, manufacturing, wherever cameras are there, stationary cameras, moving cameras, they're all absorbing data. Very little of the data is actually processed today. It can't be even touched by humans. You have to process by AI and algorithms. And what kind of models you build, how do you really harness that data is where the value of this company is going. I have another company deep in the infra space that is doing inferencing. It's a chip company. Okay, so you guys will know NVIDIA, big GPU company, hottest stock this year. This one is playing the low power angle for edge inference. So I have a company that's doing well again, Tiber Global Investor, Series B. It's solving very low power edge inference to go into cameras and embedded scenarios. It's not a smartphone, but the next level of edge. And the LLM wave is helping them now, actually. The LLM inferencing is adding more compute, and it's going to go to the edge, and this is where they won very big accounts today that they are working through. Okay? So that's a chip infra play that I think is protected for some time at least, and it's trending well towards the bigger LLMs. And the third one is a vertical AI company, which is where I think there's more hope. I'm on the board of a digital marketing company, agency. These guys are now generating content using 4 or 5 different tools, Runway. I don't even know the names fully, but they are able to generate. So I'll give you an example. They went to Amex as a customer, and in the meeting they created an ad in the 45 minutes and showed them an ad that was almost indistinguishable from human content, which usually takes 3 months and shoots and everything else. Okay, so that's the power of vertical AI. You're going to see this accelerate rapidly. As he said, I'm looking for the next batch is going to be a 2% company that's going to be a unicorn in this space. Just keep your ears tuned.
I don't know whether how many of you know Mosaic ML was an 18 months old company, got acquired for more than $1 billion by